Alright, so I wanted to go off the cuff here. I've been seeing like a lot of memes or memes, or I'm not sure exactly how you like to pronounce it, but I've been seeing a lot of them lately about taxing the churches. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about they want to tax the churches. I see that. Let's tax the churches. Why not tax the churches? These guys are getting away with millions. Um, I want to point out a couple things here. First of all, when you talk about taxing churches, essentially you're saying that you want to tax NPOs or nonprofit organizations. Like what goes for one goes across the board. So if you want to tax one, you got to tax all NPOs, all nonprofit organizations, not just churches. I'm sure that every denomination or group out there would like to specifically like tax other groups or specific groups, but not themselves. But that's not how it works. So anyway, and the other thing I want to point out is that any church that receives donations, or any nonprofit for that matter that receives donations, all that money is already been taxed. So if I go to work or you go to work and I get my money and I decide that I'm going to tithe, or 10% to the church, that's my prerogative, and I paid taxes on that money to the government whenever I made it in the first place. And if you go out and, if that's not your thing, but you go out and you work and you make your money and you decide you're going to give whatever percentage that you decide you're going to give to whatever charitable organization that it's going to be, whether it's something to do with the environment, whether it's helping homeless people, whether it's to do with helping some type of sickness or illness or something like that, whatever it is that you donate, now you've been taxed on that money when you first received it from working. So that money's already been taxed. And now, so when you say you want to tax churches or nonprofits, then basically you're saying that for you to give a donation, that donation should be taxed again. Now let's think about that. When that money gets taxed, it's going to go where? To the government coffers, right? The government's going to end up with that money. And what are they going to do with it? Because we know what churches and other nonprofit organizations are doing with that money. Now, I'm not going to say that in any churches or nonprofits that there's not corruptions or maybe there's overpayments go out, or some people are getting rich off of this stuff. And I'm not saying that's not happening. I'm not here to investigate every NPO or church out there and see what their legitimacy is. But what I'm saying is that those people are taking that money and they're probably giving out the biggest percentage of social services, like real social services to people. And I'm talking about addiction services. I'm talking about domestic violence services, rehabilitation services, food services for the needing, housing services. Okay, you want to go into all NPOs and take it even out further from there. You could go into environmental services. There's so many services that these NPOs and these churches provide free of cost to the community already right now with the money that they get that's already been taxed from people who just want to freely give it. And then you have people out there, I mean, sometimes people say stuff and I guess they don't really think it through. But you got people out there that are saying, hey, let's tax these folks. Let's tax the churches, let's tax the nonprofits, and then we'll trust the government to do what should be done with that money. We'll trust them to allocate those resources that people choose to give, or at least a percentage of them, more efficiently than what's already been done. That we think the government will provide more social services, more aid to the homeless, housing, addiction services, domestic violence services. I mean, the list could go on and on. Basically, anywhere that you see that is an addiction service place or domestic violence place, like I think like the Marjorie Mason Center. You're going to talk about the Poverello House down in Fresno. Anybody that helps people out and does stuff and gives things to the community without cost. They're all going to be nonprofit. You're going to find out they're all going to go back to a lot of them. Most of them are going to go back to churches, ties to religious ties to Christianity, and which is going to be the reason why they're doing it. And they're already doing it, and they've been doing it. And so I think that we should leave those resources that people have chose to freely give with the people that have already proven themselves as good stewards. Now, as far as frauds out there, we all have brains in our heads. We all have eyes that we see. We all have minds of our own. I mean, it's a matter of time before something like that gets exposed. And if you think that something's not worthy of your patronage, then just simply don't donate. Don't donate your money to them. It's not that hard. You just don't give them the money. But to say, hey, I think we should tax these people, I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it just comes from a generalized distaste for religion for some. I know that it gets blamed for a lot of things, which I'm not going to go into right now. But I think you got to really think about what it is you're saying. When you want to tax the church, like I said, essentially you're saying let's tax all nonprofits, all NPOs, let's tax them. And then you're saying we trust the government better to allocate those resources towards social services than what is already being done by churches and other nonprofits.